The reality is they did bring in a name like Stephon Diggs, who in the last 4 years has averaged over 160 targets per season. Okay, Stephon Diggs is no mug, and keep in mind, he's fighting for his next contract. This is a contract year. If Stephon Diggs is not getting fed the rock, you think he's going to be happy in the locker room? I know your time is valuable, so in today's video, I'm giving you my top 40 wide receivers in fantasy in under 20 minutes. A bunch of tiers, and I'm hopefully going to give you some precise, detailed information. All right. The first tier is called Wide Receiver 1 Battle. These are the receivers that I perceive to be battling for the wide receiver 1 spot in fantasy football this year. Of course, CeeDee Lamb, who finished as a wide receiver 1 last year, 23.7 PPR points per game. Tyreek Hill is in this conversation as a wide receiver 2, finished as a wide receiver 2 last year, like CeeDee, averaged over 23 points per game. Both of these wide receivers should have a very similar role in 2024. I also have Jamar Chase here. I see a lot of hate for Jamar Chase recently on the timeline. Look, if you don't believe in him, I totally understand. But for me, I think we're all letting recency bias get a little too far deep into our thought process. Here's the deal. Joe Burrow wasn't healthy last year. The last time Joe Burrow was healthy, which was 2022 and 2023. In 2023, Jamar Chase averaged over 20 points per game. This team has a bunch of vacated targets as well. With Joe Mixon leaving, where do those targets go? We don't know how healthy T. Higgins can be, or if he's a part of the future here in Cincinnati. So I think Jamar Chase has a huge chance to bounce back with a 20-plus points per game season. I also have Amon-Ra St. Brown in this tier. I think he is battling for wide receiver 1, averaged over 20 points per game last year, finished as the wide receiver 3 in a good offense where he is really the featured piece. All right, how about guys battling for the top 5? To me, there's two names. That is Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown. Yes, I understand Justin Jefferson is quarterback proof. He has very good splits without Kirk Cousins. However, you got to think about those games, okay? What was the defense thinking about in those games when Kirk Cousins left the field? Well, it was a new quarterback in Minnesota all the time. They were rotating between Dobbs, right? They had a couple other names just kind of constantly rotating. The defense is constantly changing their game plan each and every week. This is different, all right? We have Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy, and defenses are prepping for them all year long. Sam Darnold has never supported a fantasy wide receiver in his life. So just for that pure reason alone, I trust Kevin O'Connell. I trust this offense. I trust Justin Jefferson, but there's too much at stake for me to say Justin Jefferson has a wide receiver 1 overall season in him. I just don't personally see it this year. You might, and that's okay. I just don't personally see it, but obviously he is a safe pick with the amount of targets that he'll see in 2024. We've also got AJ Brown in here, who last year finished as the wide receiver 5, averaged 17 points per game. He started off hot. Like the first half of his season last year, he was a wide receiver 2 in fantasy football, kind of fell off a cliff in the second half. Now Kellen Moore steps in. Kellen Moore has a huge history of making wide receivers superstars in fantasy football. All right, how about my top 7 battle? Well, we've got Garrett Wilson here, we've got Puka Nacua, and we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. As far as Garrett Wilson goes, the target share has always been there. He's always gotten 25, 26, 27% of the target share in New York. The issue is Aaron Rodgers wasn't healthy last year. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I believe 150 targets from Aaron Rodgers is bound to be a top 5 season compared to 150 targets from Zach Wilson and whoever the hell else is a backup in New York. So I get it. You're concerned about Aaron Rodgers' health, but if he's healthy, Garrett Wilson absolutely can emerge and be a top 5 name this year. How about Puka Nacua, who last year, as we all know, broke out, finished as a wide receiver 4, averaged 17.5 PPR points per game. I don't expect the same season. I still think he'll be fantastic. But if you look at splits when Stafford, Puka, and Cooper Kupp was healthy, Puka was averaging more around 15.5 points per game instead of that elite 17.5 point per game number. I still think he's going to be very good. He has more ceiling to kind of discover here if Kupp gets down with an injury, but if Kupp is healthy, I do think we need to slightly lower expectations. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., who is one of the best receiver prospects we've seen as a rookie in a very long time. Think about Jamar Chase's rookie season. That's what I'm thinking for Marvin Harrison Jr. here, except the difference is, Marvin Harrison has no T. Higgins to battle with. It's Michael Wilson. Yes, Trey McBride is there, but at the wide receiver room, it's Michael Wilson, it's Greg the Human Dortch. I think Marvin Harrison probably averages well over 25% of the target share as a rookie. This is a guy that you are starting week one expecting big, huge things from. He's connected to a quarterback that has had a history of supporting fantasy wide receivers with DeAndre Hopkins. So I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is absolutely a safe pick in your second round of your fantasy drafts. All right. The next round of players are guys who are battling to be in the top 10 this year. Drizzy Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Mike Evans, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, and Stephon Diggs. Now, as far as Nico Collins goes, look, I think Nico Collins, if Stephon Diggs didn't join this team, I'm probably ranking Nico Collins like what? Right above Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe in the conversation with Puka Nacua. That's how talented the dude is. That's how excited I am based off what we saw last year, but that is not the reality. The reality is they did bring in a name like Stephon Diggs, who in the last 4 years has averaged over 160 targets per season. Okay, Stephon Diggs is no mug. I know he didn't have a good second half of the season, but Stephon Diggs is still a very good player in this league. He's going to an offense where he's very much needed. And the way I view these two players, I think their roles will be different. Nico Collins is going to be your deep down the field threat, your red zone guy. That's fantastic. But Stephon Diggs is going to operate more over the middle of the field. These easy targets to get your wide receiver going, the screen game, the slant game, the intermediate over the middle of the field, I think that's where Stephon Diggs dominates. And I think Diggs has as much of a chance as Nico Collins as being the number one wide receiver in this offense. I don't think they bring him in and tell him, hey, you're going to be the number 3. That makes no sense to me. And keep in mind, he's fighting for his next contract. This is a contract year. If Stephon Diggs is not getting fed the rock, you think he's going to be happy in the locker room? No, they're going to have to feed Stephon Diggs. Now, as far as Drake London goes, averaged a very high target share his first 2 years, but he was on an offense that was very, very bad. Now with Kirk Cousins, that should change. Jalen Waddle was very unlucky with injuries last year. I'm thinking he'll have a repeat of his 2022 season where he was healthy and a top 10 fantasy wide receiver rather than his 2023 season. Mike Evans, all reliable, the red zone threat, probably going to get over 10 touchdowns again. And then Devontae Adams and Chris Olave, just two guys on offenses that don't have good quarterbacks, but the clear number one feature and volume is king in fantasy football. All right. How about players who are top 15 to 20? We're going to get to that in 1 second, but I got to let y'all know that if you're not playing fantasy football yet, it's time to play fantasy football. Don't wait until September. We're playing fantasy over on UnderdogFantasy.com. You can get into real leagues with real money on the line, real pots to win. If you haven't signed up yet, use the promo code LAND. Check out the pinned comment down below. You're going to get a deposit match 50% up to $250 when you sign up with our promo code, meaning you can get $125 free just by using our promo code LAND. And of course, we benefit as well when you sign up. Now, the other thing to consider is maybe you're not a best ball guy. Well, do you like player props? Because they got player props over there on Underdog Fantasy, whatever sport you want to bet on, higher or lower, whatever prop it is. They recently just introduced Olympics pick'ems, where you can pick higher or lower on specific Olympic events. And they have a special right now, for example, with like LeBron James in his recent game, would he score over or under 0.5 points? Of course he's scoring over. That's just to help you get the ball rolling so you can 5x, 10x, 20x your money. Check out the pinned comment if you want to have some fun on Underdog. All right, top 15 to 20. All right, we've got Malik Neighbors. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be the dude in New York. Quarterback play will be questionable, but he will average somewhere around 25 to 27% of the targets from day one. He is Himothy. How about Devonta Smith? Not a great year last year. However, we do know that Kellen Moore is coming over to be the offensive coordinator here. And I think Devonta Smith might be the slot role in that Kellen Moore offense. That is very enticing to me. Cooper Kupp, who when healthy was averaging well over 13 points per game. If he's healthy, he could be an absolute monster. We've got the 49ers guys in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. I prefer Deebo Samuel. If you actually look on a points per game basis last year, Deebo was the better fantasy player. However, Brandon Ayuk, of course, if he can just get fed some more targets, he could be an absolute superstar like he was last year. We've got some other names here like George Pickens, one of my breakout wide receivers of the year. No Deontay Johnson, already went from around 16 to 22% of the target share from last year to his next year. And this year, I think he averages well over 25%. We've got DK Metcalf, who I think is a fantastic pick. Ryan Grubb, the new offensive coordinator, coming over from the Washington Huskies. He wants to throw the ball a lot. DK Metcalf is going to benefit from that. We've also got DJ Moore, who had a very good year last year. Unfortunately, he is catching passes from a rookie quarterback, so I don't know how much we can rely on him. We've got Tank Dell in this tier, who, very good last year when he became a starter. Can he stay healthy? We've got Michael Pittman in this tier, who last year was very good with Gardner Minshew. What will he look like this year now that Anthony Richardson is there? Now that Josh Downs is heading into his second season? Now that we've got Adonai Mitchell to compete with targets? I like Michael Pittman. I might not just be as high on him as others. And then we've also got Amari Cooper in this tier. Amari Cooper is criminally underrated, had a very good season last year, finishes as a wide receiver 20, and averaged over 15 points per game. I think Deshaun Watson bounces back. How about you? All right, that's my top 15 to 20 battle type of range. And I would encourage people when they're looking at my rankings, I would hope that they would see the tiers rather than the specific number. So for example, in this last tier that we talked about, if you think Malik Neighbors should be at the end of the tier, that's fine. That's why they're in the same tier, right? That's how I'm gonna use these tiers, is to draft within this bucket of players, if that makes sense, okay? If you think Pickens or Ayuk or Debo or Metcalf should be the first one or the last one, I'm with you. They're in the same exact tier. I don't care how you have it. This is how I would draft these names. All right, how about the high upside tier? A lot of question marks around a lot of these names, but it could pay off big time. T. Higgins. First off, can the dude stay healthy? Second off, is this contract year going to lead to him playing through injury type of scenarios where, okay, I got to go earn my money? How about Zay Flowers? Good rookie season, but is there really, a top 15 year out there in a primarily run-focused offense, especially when they added Derrick Henry? I don't know. You tell me. I love Jackson Smith and Jigba this year. I do think a breakout is coming. I think he and Tyler Lockett, their roles will be reversed. Last year, Jason had 17% of the target share. Lockett had 22%. I think that switches this year, and I think it will be a higher volume passing offense. He is uber talented. Now he just needs a chance to shine. Christian Kirk, does he really have the ceiling of a Brian Thomas Jr.? You have to ask yourself that. Rashee Rice, assuming he is not suspended, he might be the best pick in fantasy this year. Like, legitimately, based off his ADP, he might be the best pick. This is a guy who helped them win a Super Bowl last year as a rookie receiver, second best statistical rookie season ever from a Chiefs wide receiver. Don't underestimate Rashee Rice. How about Chris Godwin, who last year they played him out wide primarily? That is not what he's used to. He should be a slot receiver. They're moving him back into the slot for the 2024 season, where he has dominated for fantasy football. How about Jaden Reed, whose second half of the season was a fantasy superstar? Of course, Christian Watson wasn't healthy. What does that mean? Will Christian Watson be a bigger threat this year? We've also got Terry McLaurin, who has been in quarterback purgatory his entire career. Think about it. If Jaden Daniels is this year's CJ Stroud, Terry McLaurin could be one of the steals of the draft. How about Deontay Johnson, who's moving from Pittsburgh to Carolina? I'm a huge fan of Deontay this year. I think he will dominate target share in Carolina. Think about it. If Adam Thielen can finish top 17 as a receiver in fantasy, Deontay Johnson can as well. And we've also got Ladd McConkey here, another one of my favorite picks in fantasy football. The Chargers have the most vacated targets in the NFL this year. Over 60% of their targets are vacated. Ladd McConkey is a guy who can separate with the best of them. I think he will produce early as a rookie. All right, and the last tier is sleepers. It's a little bit disrespectful for me to put the first two names in here, Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, although I do still consider them sleepers. I know their ADP is high, but they are relying on a Will Levis breakout. If Will Levis isn't good, then Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins are not going to be good draft picks, right? Last year, DeAndre Hopkins averaged under a 60% catch percentage, so not a lot of efficiency with Will Levis. Calvin Ridley did the same in Jacksonville, under a 60% catch percentage. So you got to bet on Will Levis being much, much better than he was as a rookie. I think he will be better, just how much better. We've also got Jordan Addison in this tier. who last year, most of his big fantasy weeks came without Justin Jefferson. We have Keenan Allen, who for the first time is changing teams, going from being the alpha in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert to being a Chicago Bear where they've got prime DJ Moore, where they got a young rookie in Rome Odunze. I just don't know how much I can trust him this year. And in the past 2 seasons, he has dealt with injuries that's kept him off the field. We've got Hollywood Brown on a 1-year prove-it deal. We've got Brian Thomas Jr., a rookie receiver who is stepping into a situation where there are a bunch of vacated targets now that Calvin Ridley is gone. We've got Rome Odunze here, who we talked about, rookie receiver, love his upside. Xavier Worthy, I do think that Xavier Worthy will play behind Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice in 2 wide receiver sets, but clearly he's like the fun, unknown player that you add late in your draft. We've also got Christian Watson. If Christian Watson can stay healthy, we've been saying this for years. If he can stay healthy, there is no ceiling to Christian Watson, right? We've also got Brandon Cooks and Tyler Lockett. So that's my top 40. And I'm looking at the clock. I did it in less than 18 minutes. All right. I mean, can you show me some damn love on the video? Like, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Be kind in the comments, but let me know. I am curious. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you like the content. And I'll see you guys in a future video. So much love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.